most people, even Michigan State fans, aren't calling Harbaugh overrated. So I'll take your opinion. Speaking of Michigan State, Matt Wenzel, MLive.com Spartan Confidential guy. He is standing by. How you doing, Matthew?
Good, Bill. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. From my huge question of the day, from your limited time being around the Harbaugh era at Michigan, would you say he's overrated, or what would be the word to describe the job he's done the first 5 years back home?
I mean, if your expectation is to win the national championship every year, then yeah, he'd be overrated. But I mean, you look at where that program was before he got there, and I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head how many times he won 10 games. I mean, how many coaches have more wins than him in that time? I mean, he's stabilized the program. You know, they remain a contender in the Big Ten, but obviously can't win against Ohio State, and can't win the big road games when they need to. That's the difference. So I think he's done just fine there. But obviously people have different expectations.
Speaking of expectations, Mel Tucker with no spring ball, players, you'll get some off-season workouts, with the social distancing starting on Monday. Will be more training, getting back in shape. But what do you think at Michigan State, in East Lansing, the Spartan Nation, what are their expectations going into this football season?
I think even before the coronavirus stuff happened, I think most people, reasonable people, had realistic expectations when you have a new coach taking over a program after Mark retires late in the process in February. You have a team that lost a good portion of its playmakers, and you have a brutal schedule. Those are tough, and you don't have spring practice, so you can't even install your new schemes with your new coordinators, and you're limited to virtual instructions. I mean, I think that's. I've said that 6-6 in a bowl game would be a successful season for them. I still believe that, and I think that would be difficult for them to do, and that's even if we get a season that plays out as scheduled, which, it just seems unlikely at this point in time.
From your limited interaction with Mel Tucker, what does he bring to the table that D'Antonio didn't have?
It's a new energy. Obviously, Mark had been there for 13 seasons. He'd done things with the program that nobody had imagined were really possible. You win Big Ten titles and you go to college football playoff and you beat Ohio State. Those are tough things to do. But with Mel, it's time. I think you could see there was kind of a need for some new energy. If you hear from the players that said they didn't think. They thought Mark would retire at some time in the near future. Didn't think he'd go then, but I think he's been doing it for a long time, and sometimes it's just a good time for a change. And I think Mel brings that with an added excitement and added energy with both him and the new assistants he's got on his staff. So I think you've seen a little re-energizing of the fan base.
I look at Mel from a distance, and I'm really impressed with no spring ball. New on the job, new territory for Mel with a lot of South roots with Georgia and Alabama, and even out west with Colorado. I think he's done a hell of a job recruiting, and he's a few months in on the job.
Everybody is in the same situation as far as the rules are concerned. The timeline with the dead period, when it was instituted, how long it goes. But you make the argument that obviously it impacted Michigan State more than a lot of other programs. With the new staff, the inability to, they had what was in mid-March, they had some guys on campus briefly, like Hampton Fay, their quarterback commit, and a couple other guys, but, they got 11 guys committed in the class, and most all of them have never even been to campus, so you're doing the best you can, relying on building relationships with recruits. A lot of these times, some of these were previous relationships with some of the assistants that Mel had at Colorado, guys like Hampton Fay, who was identified when he was and offered when Mel and those guys and his OC were at Colorado, and they, him and Jay Johnson go to Michigan State, and that relationship continues, and that's how some of that's built. But yeah, really difficult circumstances when you're bringing guys from around the country to, you're getting commitments from guys that have never been to Michigan State and doing so with only online virtual visits and interactions. That's difficult. So it'll be an interesting recruiting cycle, and I think for everybody actually.
Matt Wenzel, MLive.com Spartan Insider, also part of the Spartan Confidential team, where you can get text straight to your phone from the MLive MSU football writers. So it's simple and easy. You'll stay in touch. It's only $4.99 a month, but you'll get a free 60-day trial by texting 517-343-1808. That's 517-343-1808 to get that free 60-day trial of the Spartan Confidential to stay up to date on MSU football. Speaking of Mel Tucker and coaches, for what it's worth, CBSSports.com had their Big Ten coach rankings going into the upcoming season. Penn State, James Franklin 1, Ryan Day from Ohio State 2, Harbaugh from Michigan 3, Kirk Ferentz, who's dealing with a lot off the field right now, at 4, PJ Fleck at Minnesota 5, Paul Chryst at Wisconsin 6, Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern 7, Scott Frost at 8, Greg Schiano lost in all the pandemic conversation. Schiano's back at Rutgers at number 9. Jeff Brom, number 10 at Purdue. Tom Allen, 11 at Indiana. He's done a great job. Lovie Smith at 12. Mel Tucker at 13. And Mike Loxley, former Bama assistant, at number 14. We've always talked about the coaching roster in the Big Ten when it comes to hoops, but look how deep that coaching lineup is now in the Big Ten, top to bottom. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of great coaches there. Just an anecdote, but last year we had done that. There was a poll. There's a preseason poll done every year by Cleveland.com, our sister site, for because the Big Ten doesn't organize preseason predictions anymore, so they do it independently with the writers. And one of the questions I believe last year was if you could have any coach in the Big Ten, regardless of for your facilities, just whoever it is. And Pat Fitzgerald came in number 1 in the voting amongst media members. So I always found that interesting. But yeah, I mean, Mel's, I think as far as Mel's ranking, I mean, it's all based on the fact that he's only been a head coach for one season in college, and you got to prove it, I guess. But obviously he's got a successful track record as a assistant coach and as a defensive coordinator, both college and the NFL.
I think when you combine basketball and football, I don't think there's a conference in America that goes that deep on the quality coaching list as the Big Ten does. And you mentioned the preseason polls and media days now with this pandemic still in place and all the precautions. I think their normal Big Ten media days in Chicago probably are going to be done via Zoom, I would say.
Yeah, they announced, highly, obviously this was expected. They announced that it weren't going to happen, but they did it in a weird way. They said not going to happen as scheduled. So it's scheduled for July, I can't remember, July 23rd or 24th, something like it. It was 2 days in July. Can't remember the exact dates, but they announced a couple weeks ago that they won't take place as scheduled, but they didn't provide any details. So technically they didn't slam the door on something happening in person, but I just can't imagine that happens. I imagine it'll all be done virtually in whatever form they can put together.
Yeah, virtual world we all live in. You can follow Michigan State Sports 24/7 at MLive.com, and also get Spartan Confidential text straight to your phone from the MLive.com Michigan State football writers. It's only $4.99 a month, but you'll get a 60-day free trial by signing up right now. Text 517-343-1808. That's 517-343-1808. Matt, thanks for the update. My best to you and your family.
You too, Bill. Thanks.
All right, Matt Wenzel joining us from Lansing. Pretty cool. Get the 60-day free trial for the Spartan Confidential. Get stuff texted right to your phone. And it's only $4.99 a month. 517-343-1808. That is 517-343-1808.